Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gen AI Talk in 10. I'm Brad. He's Satish. So on this video, let's get started. We're talking about Gen AI, what it is, and how it's different from traditional AI. Satish, what do you think?
Well, Brad, first of all, glad to be here. There are a few differences between Gen AI and traditional AI, mainly in terms of, like to look at it in terms of three things, right? First is the purpose or objective. How do we use that flavor of AI? Second is the architecture. And then third is the kind of outputs we should expect, right? So from an objective or purpose standpoint, if you look at traditional AI, it typically focuses on analyzing data, recognizing patterns, and making decisions or predictions. That's what we have been used to, right? And mainly being used by data scientists. That's what used to happen with traditional AI. Gen AI really democratized AI, made it available to all, but it's more about creating new content, right? And really any kind of content. You hear the term multimodal, and that's because, it can be text, it can be images, it can be music, it can be even code. So that's at the highest level. Now, that's from a purpose standpoint, right? Let's look at the second part, which is how does it look different from a technology standpoint? Traditional AI, you used to use very simple algorithms and models, and we'll talk about models later on in the series. These models that are designed for specific tasks requiring much less, relatively speaking, computational power and memory. Traditional AI usually relies on structured data and use something called supervised learning, where models are basically told, the supervised term means models are told what the data is by labeling the data. Gen AI, on the other hand, uses more advanced and complex neural network architecture, such as GPT. People might have heard the term GPT, which is Generative Pre-trained Transformer. This requires substantial computational resources, including powerful CPUs, and you'll hear the term GPUs. So this type of data, generative AI, this type of AI uses both structured and unstructured. If you think back to what I said about traditional AI, that mainly uses structured data. Generative AI can use both. And last point, which is about the outputs we should expect between the two types of AI, right? Traditional AI outputs are typically numerical values, categories, classes, right? And so on. That is how predictions and decisions are communicated by the AI to the human. Gen AI, on the other hand, is capable of complex outputs, full sentences, paragraphs, images, music, and even videos, right? So we have seen one of your videos, which was amazing, of you being replicated, right? So anyway, the point here is it's really powerful, and that's what we're seeing as differences.
Okay. Those are helpful points. And sometimes, Satish, traditional AI gets called GoFi, which stands for good old fashioned AI. And sometimes people call traditional AI predictive AI, but I think that's misleading because, as you said, generative AI is predictive as well, correct?
Yeah, it can predict as well. It's not optimized necessarily for that, but it can handle predictions. Traditional AI, on the other hand, is optimized for things like predictions and analysis and so on. So you can combine the two, though, right? And use it. What typically what happens? People start losing the distinct line of distinction between the two and start combining techniques, combining models to do both. That. I mean, from an automation standpoint, I have to add, right? People say, could generative AI replace RPA? Right? That's one of the questions. And it ties back to some of these capabilities, right? The answer is no, because first of all, generative AI is about, think of it being analogous to the brain and RPA being analogous to the arms and legs, two different functions, right? But also keep in mind that generative AI actually expands the opportunity for automation. Ties back to what I just said, which is in the past, you couldn't use unstructured documents and as part of your workflows to automate because it needed human intervention. With generative AI now opening up unstructured documents, suddenly your opportunity for automation actually goes higher, not lower. And so I think a lot of our customers are realizing this and wanting to use Blue Prism as the framework because they see the power of Blue Prism used with Gen AI. And it's a really powerful combination.
Okay. It's been said that traditional AI is more reliable for deterministic decision making than Gen AI. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, it goes back to, again, the input and output relationship, right? It's more deterministic input, which leads to more deterministic output. You free up the input side. Now you can take any kind of input, which means now AI also can be creative. I mean, the other big difference here is the data sets it's trained on, right?
Yeah.
Traditional AI is very narrowly scoped. That's what we used to do, right? Data scientists would work on data that was for a specific task, and that's it, right? And so that's why we did see AI that being that widely used, right? Or that easily used because of these restrictions, right? Anytime you wanted to use AI, traditional AI with a new use case, you better train the AI program on the new set of data to work with the new use case. Well, that's no longer true because, and we'll talk about this in a future installment of this program, where we'll talk about things like foundational models and so on, right? Which relies on huge amounts of data being trained, which makes the AI much more capable, much more, open to solving broader set of use cases than ever before. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Satish, is it fair to say then that traditional AI is really all about emulating human expertise, whereas Gen AI is really about understanding, summarizing, generating, classifying, and predicting new content? Is that a fair way to look at it?
Exactly, right? So it is expanding the scope of what AI used to be, and it's getting more and more creative. I mean, we use, ChatGPT and other models. I mean, for business, we wouldn't use ChatGPT per se, but for personal use, I use it almost on a regular basis where multiple times daily, or at least once or more times, right? And so we are using it for the creative side also, not just to allow us to predict or decide or whatever, right? That's what more traditional AI is for. I'm using it to ask for ideas, almost like a brainstorming partner, right? To me, generative AI is much more a collaborative partner to work with, rather than, looking at it as a black box.
Okay, so let's end with this. I'm going to give you two scenarios. You tell me which flavor of AI would be best for each.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to forecast my supply and demand patterns over the next 90 days. Which flavor do you think is best?
Traditional AI, for sure.
Okay. Second one, I'm looking to create a new, highly personalized marketing promotion that we've never done before, and I want to do it more or less on the fly. Which flavor would be best?
This is a nice softball. Yeah, that's generative AI. The neat thing about what you said, I like the example because it highlights also, what the possibilities are, right? We talk about generative AI being used for customer and employee experience. Giving enough customer data, you can actually ask it to personalize the output, right? That's what we're essentially pointing out, which is amazing capability. So thank you, Brad.
You bet. And thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time on Gen AI Talk in 10.